This is your host and real estate coach, Rafael Cortez. You are listening to the REI Wholesaling Podcast, where every week I bring you the real life case studies and strategies you need to level up your real estate wholesaling business. If you haven't done so yet, go to reiwholesaling.com. Again, that's reiwholesaling.com. Sign up and get free access to your Wholesaling 101 course. This free training teaches you step by step everything you need to close your next wholesale deal and start making big money now. Give us some details on that background.
Yeah, no, I spent the last 16, 17 years of my career in the power sports industry, working and managing, motorcycle four-wheeler dealerships. Came up through the sales side and, moved on to the management side. And then, for the last 6-7 years, ran dealerships as a general manager. Have a pretty strong, heavy, just sales focus for the majority of my adult life.
Cool. So you have how does that compare? Like somebody who's got a sales background, right? Normally it hardly ever like translates directly to different industries. Do you feel that's helped you a bit? I mean, could you have done the same stuff that you're doing right now without it? What's your take on that?
I think it's definitely possible to come in to this industry without a sales background. I think for sure, 100%, no doubt in my mind that having a heavy sales background helped me. Just knowing overall, just general sales process and, just building rapport with clients and, listening to what they're saying, and applying that. So I think it definitely helps having a sales background, but not necessary.
Cool. I would agree with that. I think having, some type of exposure, definitely helps, but it's one of those things that if you have the will, the commitment and the tenacity to go after it, the opportunity is going to be there. Right. Take your guys' case, for example, you kind of jumped into it, and you weren't very active at the beginning. We're talking, this was back like in January, right? We're May, middle of May right now. This was probably back in January, and it took you guys a little bit to just get more comfortable with the idea of running this as a business, as an actual business, right? And I remember, right out of the gate, you weren't, the most, active. However, whenever February and March kicked in, I mean, you guys just ramped it up. So, what happened through that process, and what led to the first closings that you guys had?
You said it and hit the nail right on the head. We did start off slow, but we wanted to be very, very conscious of, we're in this to build a business, to build a long-term business and that can scale and that can just be a well-oiled machine. So for us early on, setting that foundation, making sure we had the foundation in place, everything in place, that was our number one priority. Make sure we had processes in place before we started generating leads and trying to produce revenue. So, once we felt comfortable, had everything in place, that's when we started to ramp it up. And when we ramped it up, we went 110%. We didn't hold back at all.
Brother, I'm your witness on that. And you're a negotiation machine. You're very adamant about, we've been on the phone and whatnot and during the live calls and everything and talked about, the deals that you're currently going through, and the deals that you have negotiated in the past, and just that tenacity that you have to stick to it. Everything from following up on, the leads that are, inside the CRM to just, generating those new calls. You've covered every single aspect of it to the point that, you've told me, right? You get anxious whenever you feel like there's a little gap, something's not being handled. I think at the beginning it's a type of, you almost have to be a little bit obsessed with the future that you're trying to build. Right. And I think 100%. It really puts you into that mindset of getting things done and, putting the effort in. It's not even if you have a 9-to-5, you have to take this and then build your own dream right after hours. And I think that's one of the key things that you've been able to do. You just, I mean, really lasered in the focus on, okay, how to generate leads. And then after I get this, I'll, move on, I'll qualify them, then I'll negotiate them, then I, push them on to the, almost like an assembly line type of process, but you're very adamant about sticking to each part of it. And I think that's been one of the most amazing things to see happen in your guys' scenario over the last several months. So
another big
with that
thing
being
is
said,
we're not scared to make mistakes. We're not scared to make mistakes and learn from it.
Massive imperfect action, right? I mean, it's one of the things that we keep saying over and over again. And I'm not the only coach who really embraces that, but massive imperfect action. We're not always going to have all the answers. However, we have this direction.
Yeah.
And if you keep walking in that direction, somehow, some way you're going to figure it out, especially if you have the backbone of a network, right? The people that you can reach out to, and the support of coaching and people who've already done it before. So, I mean, that's all, it all comes together to really create that foundation that you need and really cut the time that it takes to get from point A to point Z. So, no, I love it. You started, I remember you were going deep and heavy into cold calling, generating leads, right? And that was the, the primary objective at the beginning, generate leads, and then boom, you got swamped with a bunch of leads. And I remember you started to pivot into actually negotiating, talking about numbers and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So during this time, I mean, you went through a couple of different job roles, and now you're mainly acquisitions. I mean, you're doing dispo and everything else as well, but your core focus, you individually, it's on the acquisitions, right?
100%.
So what did your business look like in March, and what does it look like now?
So in March, we started with cold callers right at the end of February. They started generating leads right from the get-go. They were generating leads daily. We set our parameters pretty wide, and we did that just to give me the swings on the phone. Get more comfortable on the phone, learn those conversations, learn what works and what doesn't. In March, we were generating leads and started to get a little bit of traction with a few of those leads. People that were genuinely interested in selling, because a lot of people, especially with the market right now, I'll take a cash offer. They just kind of, a tire kicker, so to speak. But, we started generating, some leads that, and I was in contact with some people that, really had some interest in selling. And in March, towards the end of March, started really picking up traction with that. And, fast forward to now, and we've got 3 deals that have closed. We've got 1 more that'll close next week. And I just got another deal under contract with a seller on yesterday, I guess it was.
And that's a very interesting story. I want to touch on that, because that's definitely one for the books, brother.
Yeah.
Before we bring that one up, you started. I mean, you pretty much teed it up and really ramped it up in a matter of about 60 days, right? That's when the deals started coming in. So let's do a little bit of a deal breakdown here. So you had 3 that kind of came in simultaneously, and they all closed within the same week, right? So your first payday, per se, was actually 3 different transactions coming in at the same time. I mean, that's epic. It doesn't happen often, and it's a testimony, right, to what it takes, to commitment, to tenacity, to actually being in it and with the intention of making a real business out of it. So where did the leads come from?
So 2 of the leads that we closed, they were cold call leads. Another one was a PPC lead, and then the one that'll close. Interesting. Yeah, cold calling. So 2 of them cold call. One was a PPC lead. The one that'll close next week is cold call lead. Mm-hmm. So, and then the one that I put under contract yesterday was a PPC lead. So
what lists were you marketing to?
So on lists, we started just like you teach in the in the Rhino Tribe course is, your target market area, find your top 20 zip codes, find those top 20 most active zip codes. And we started with the most active, pulled the list and, pulled the list of whatever the most, I forget how many zip codes it was, just to get to the amount of data that we needed to send to our cold callers to keep them busy for a 30-day period. And then, we moved on to the next zip codes after that. And, we've just continued on with that method ever since with the cold callers.
Yeah, no, and it works. I mean, it's really a volume play, right? It used to be that you could get a lot more targeted with niches and lists and stuff like that. And there are, I mean, a few types of lists out there that work well. They're a little harder to get because there's more work, going into it. But at the end of the day, what you're looking for, it's really, think about it this way. Everybody's going to sell at some point. Hardly ever anybody buys a house and stays with it for the rest of their lives unless this is like an investment. But they'll move up, they'll downsize, upsize, or, do whatever they got to do, right? But we just have to be there. We got to be front of mind or top of mind whenever the choice to sell comes up. And I mean, it really takes, like you said, you getting putting the reps in, so you can, right. You just have to have the opportunity to take those swings. Yeah. So nice. So cold calling it's pretty much one of the best or top lead sources that you have. You're also incorporating PPC, which is a little, different, but it's still, high quality stuff right there. So what was the, every time we come into a seller appointment or a situation, there's always an issue, right? There's always a solution. We have to come into every single deal with the mentality that we're going to be able to solve a problem for that seller. Give us just a quick little breakdown on the three scenarios and what the situation was on each one of them, and what were you able to solve for those sellers? So
on one of them, it's an older gentleman. He's retired. His wife had been in poor health for, a pretty significant period of time. He was not living in the house. He had let a family member live in the house, and that family member absolutely did not take care of the house at all, and pretty much just trashed the home. Left a bunch of stuff.
Accidental landlord type of deal.
Yeah. Exactly. And he had, it bothered him to want to go back to the house with it in that condition, especially, his wife had passed away, in this period of time. And he just wanted to get out from underneath it. He wanted to move on with his life, and he wanted to get it done as soon as he could. That was his thing. So really great guy. It's actually, I talked to him just the other day. He told me he's going to make sure he keeps my number because he's got another property that he's probably going to want to sell here in about 4 to 6 months. He thanked me 20 times. So really cool experience.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Whenever you come in and then actually add value to these transactions, they will exchange, convenience for equity. They will do that. Yeah. And it's really the way it works. You come in and then genuinely solve a problem for somebody else. You end up with a win-win situation where they, want to keep coming back to you. And now you're the guy, right? Like now you're the real estate guy. Whenever they think about selling something that's going to be off market, it's going to be cash, it's going to be an investor. Even if they get 50 other direct mail pieces or calls, or, they get bombarded by, SMSs and phone calls, you're still going to be the guy. Like you're going to be that person.
I got a guy syndrome. I want to be when somebody's in a group of their friends, they're talking about real estate. I want somebody in that group to go, hey, I got a guy, call him.
Talk to Lucas. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's really what it takes. I mean, it's taking the time to sit there and find out, the situation behind it, not just coming in, then, going straight for the throat with, okay, how much do you want to sell it for? And that's it. It's there's some finessing, there's some conversational discovery that has to happen in order to really, come about with a solution and really build that connection, that trust, and that, likeness that a seller's got to have towards you, right? In order to do business. It's people do business with people who they like and trust. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. Nice. So what about the other two?
Other two deals, both of those were out of state owners. They actually owned them as rental properties. The one gentleman, it was his property management company had continued gradually raising the prices. For him, it just wasn't feasible. He was out of state. He had a few properties left that were in state that he still owned, and he was just slowly trying to get rid of those. He, not your stereotypical motivated seller, but he wanted the ease and the simplicity of the transaction. He just wanted to be able to get the price he wanted and have somebody else handle everything, and that was it. We were able to do that. Just come in, took care of everything, 100%. Communicated with him really well, and we were able to lock that in and move that property for him.
Communication, man, that is huge. Just, having open communication back and forth with the sellers. Yep. I mean, once you lock up the contract, right? But through the process as well. I mean, when you open escrow, you're going to be expecting, phone call from an escrow officer, and they're going to be asking for these kinds of things. They may ask you, for your social security number, giving them a heads up and being open about what's coming. It's really going to be huge, right? It happens, of course, when you're trying to negotiate the property, but it does not stop once you have that, signature on the paper. It doesn't, it has to go through.
That's when the real work starts. Exactly. And keeping in contact with them.
Yep, exactly. And you're right. That's when the real work starts. The
third one,
you can't. They have to trust, and they have to, be confident that you can close that deal. Yeah. First and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the third one, again, out of state owner, had the property as a rental. He was getting rid of all his single family residents, and he was starting to invest in commercial property. So he was actually looking to do a 1031 exchange with this property. And he had actually, prior to us getting it under contract, he had gone under contract with one of the larger corporate national, companies. Can I drop their name? Can I drop their name?
Sure.
Yeah. So he had been under contract with OfferUp, and they were not able to move the property within the time period that they had said. And and they weren't going to purchase it themselves for some reason. So, he got in contact with us. I assured him that I would find a buyer for it. We would make sure the 1031 exchange, everything got done. And exact same thing happened. Just that really good communication, had good rapport with the guy. He's a super busy guy during the day, but he said, text me anytime. So a lot of the communication was just done texting back and forth. And it was like me and you texting back and forth. Like he'd text me, hey man, and stuff like that. So it was, again, just that communication, and able to handle every step of the process. So he didn't have to worry about it. And, just giving him that reassurance that I was not going to let it go. I was going to find a buyer for it.
So on this one, I want to ask you about the 1031 exchange. Those who are not familiar with 1031 exchanges, it's just that's more of it's a more advanced strategy, right? To push taxes back, not to get around taxes or anything, but to defer them until, you sell the next type of property. So you can actually, instead of paying your taxes right away or capital gains, you apply them onto the next purchase. So you got to buy another piece of real estate that's similar to whatever you're selling. And then 1031 exchange can happen. And there's all kinds of intricacies that go along with that, right? Now, let me ask you this. So he said he dropped the 1031 exchange, thing on your lap. What did you do about it? Did you have previous experience on doing 1031 exchanges, or how were you able to help them? Okay. So how did you figure that part out?
He had already identified a property. He actually had, a group of partners that they were, going and they were purchasing this commercial property. So he had already identified the property. He knew what it was. He was more on a time crunch because,
that's what I wanted to get to.
he was on a time crunch because, to him, he had wasted time having it under contract with the previous company. And, with the 1031, that's a timeline there. You've got to identify a property within a certain amount of time, and you've got to close on it within a certain amount of time also. So, you know, he was on a time crunch. We actually did a shorter closing window. He wanted to do 10 days. I told him that's just not possible to do a 10-day closing. So I was able to get him to do 20-day closing. And we actually closed in 19 days.
Wow.
So 1031 was set up. You know, I notified when I sent the paperwork over to the title company, let the title company know he's doing a 1031, got them the info that they needed. You know, I got that from the seller. That way he didn't have to worry about doing it, and just got it over to the title company.
See, here's the thing, man. And that's amazing. That's resourcefulness, right? You hear something like that, and I don't know. I've seen it in the past where people just shy away. You know what? I do not understand what that means. This is not for me. I'm not going to go forth with that deal, but it's a deal. It's either going to be you or somebody else doing it. Right. So what happens if you don't have all the resources, you have to be resourceful, and figure things out as they're coming to you a lot of the times, which, I mean, it's real estate. That's, you're never going to have two transactions that are the same. I mean, I've been in this business for the last 12 years, and I don't think I've ever had the same deal happen twice. It's just the reality of it. You have to be resourceful, and it's really cool that you caught on into to that 1031 issue. And 1031 really, once it's kind of set up and laid out and the ball is rolling on that, it's really a matter of time before they lose that opportunity. So they just got to sell as fast as possible whatever you have on your end. So it's not really a money issue, it's a time issue. Yeah.
And a big thing on this one was I had never done a 1031. So, in talking with the seller, trying to get it under contract and us going back and forth over the course of a couple of days, I called my title guy. It's just a matter of having the right people on your team to be able to rely on. And I called my title guy. And I'm like, hey, I've got this potential deal. He's wanting to do a 1031. What do I need to do on my end to make this
resourcefulness
here on him and on you? And he walked me through it. He said, this is what I need. If you could get that, it saves time. So when I called the customer back, and that was actually when I was able to close it and get him under contract, I said, hey, I can do this. We can close in this amount of days. Hopefully it's sooner, but at a max 20 days. And I need this, and this from you on the 1031. I'll send that all over to title right now. That way they've got it. And they know up front. And that was what allowed me to close it right then and there.
Boom, man. I mean, that's incredible. It's a power of the power team, right? It's actually part of the business model that you got to have in place. Build your power team. I mean, we go through that in the first couple of weeks, but it's important to have those types of relationships built out before you get, a wrench thrown at the engine. Yeah,
that was those things we were doing, in January and February when everything was slow, was, making sure we had the right people on our team, building that power team. So.
Man, I love it. Your results speak for themselves, right? So we had a couple, 3 properties come in, and then they closed during the first week. Now you have, other stuff in the pipeline. It's looking pretty healthy. What was the take on those 3 properties for that 1 week? Which was, that was your first paycheck, right? Pretty much.
First paycheck.
First payday.
First payday, right? Yeah, first payday for the company. And on those 3 deals, we were able to, in wholesaling fees was $27,000.
27K. Boom.
27K. Yep. Yeah, ring that bell.
Oh yeah. 27,000, brother. I mean, that's amazing for really ramping it up in a period of 60 days, putting, effort in, time in, and then the tenacity that it really takes to run an actual business. I mean, it's amazing results. It's amazing results. Right. And then when you stack on top of that, you stack the fact that you do have, a bunch of other stuff on the pipeline now. I mean, it's I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be creating over the next, year or so. So,
me too.
I mean, it's definitely coming in fast, man. I love it. So, you have, at this point, you have pretty much the beginnings, right, of a bootstrap business. Now you see how the pieces are, working together. You're not treating it as a side hustle, which is, I mean, it's amazing. It's music to my ears. And you're seeing results happen. What piece of advice would you give somebody who's just getting started, who's, new, relatively new to real estate investments, or has only done a couple of deals and whatnot, from your standpoint, right? I mean, you're barely, getting going on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
However, you're pretty much, taking off running on this thing. So I'm curious to hear your take on that.
My biggest thing would be just take action. Just do something. Take the next step. I had no clue what, how to do a deal, how to close a deal, how to finalize a deal, everything. But I figured it out on the way. I said it earlier, we're not, and we still are not scared to make mistakes. Our saying is, we don't know what we don't know. Well, how do we figure out,
right.
How do we figure out what to do? Well, you got to try some stuff, try some stuff, make mistakes and go, oh crap, don't do that again. Or, hey, that worked pretty well. Let's keep doing that. So like you said, just take massive imperfect action. And it's for us, taking it slow in the beginning, building that foundation, having the right people in place, things like that has definitely helped, instead of just taking off, going for the races, and then trying to scramble, and find title, find this person, find that person. Oh, my contract's not set up how it should be. We went through and did all those things. That way, when we hit the ground, we could hit the ground running and not have to worry about the details not being set up.
Yeah, I love it, by the way, man. I mean, massive imperfect action is really the key to anything that we do, right? Whether it's in wholesaling, whether it's in school, education, whatever. It's taking the steps, taking the actions that are going to lead, that's what's going to lead you there. They used to say, or the saying was, knowledge is power. I disagree with that, and I think that applied knowledge is power. Yeah. It's knowledge is just information until you actually apply it and do something with it. Then it becomes powerful. And that's exactly what you're doing. So I love it, man. You have this audacity of coming after sellers too. I mean, your closing style, it's kind of out there. It's pretty aggressive. You're there to get the deal, and you have that no BS, conversation whenever you sit down with sellers, right? You give them your true self, I think. And, it's genuine. Just yesterday, you texted me about this one deal that you just went through. I mean, I just have to bring it up, man, because I mean, that's I think 99.9999 of the people out there would have stopped going after that seller, but you stayed there, and then somehow you managed to
it was interesting.
Get it under contract. Walk me through that real quick. That's something that has to be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentleman called in, he'd been on our website, called in and, qualified the lead and everything, set an appointment for the next day. And,
PPC lead,
100. Yep. PPC lead.
Nice.
It's in a little bit more of a rural area. We're here in Texas, so, but it's out in a little bit more of a rural area. And, he lives, it's in a neighborhood, but this neighborhood's out in the country. It's a couple miles outside of a small town. And, he told me, don't come here, trying to lowball me, this and that. You try to shoot me some lowball offer and I'm going to chase you off the property with a shotgun, ha, 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 kind of laughed about it, joking. Well, I showed up, entire property's fenced and it's gated. He's got the gate locked. So he met me out at the gate, let me in and, went through, walked the house, walked around the outside, checked out the property. And, when I went inside initially, when I first got there, he had a 45 pistol just sitting on the nightstand, which is no big deal, not that big
Texas,
a deal.
Right?
It's Texas. Come on, man. We like our guns, I'm a gun lover, so it wasn't that big a deal. And, when it came down to the, negotiation, I opened the negotiation with with a low anchor. And
low anchor.
when I came in with the low anchor, Said it and did, like any negotiation, like you should, said it and then shut up. Wait for them to talk first. And his first reaction was to snap his head over and look at me. And he grabbed that 45 and put it on his lap.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a little bit interesting. I do carry a gun a lot of times. So with what he had said and the location, I chose to, have a gun on me at the time. And when he grabbed his pistol, he just kind of looked at me, and I asked him, I said, do I need to get my 40 cal out from inside of my waistband? And at that time, he just smiled and he put the 45 back on the table and said, nah, but you're going to have to raise that offer a little bit. And from that point on, it was great. We got along great. He told me probably 10 times, I like you. We're getting along great. And I was able to get it under contract. So.
That can either be really, really, really scary or instant rapport, right? It's not a strategy that's recommended.
Yeah, don't do that. I was terrified.
It off somehow, some way. But you come across some crazy stuff sometimes with sellers, man, and you still got that property under contract. So now that's in your pipeline. That's amazing. Set to close within the next 30 days.
Yeah, we were showing each other pictures of, different guns and stuff we had. And after that, we had a good time, man. We're best buddies now.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane. I love it, man. If that's not tenacity and commitment to, getting the deal done, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. As a matter of fact, it deserves another bell. That's definitely a bell ringer right there, brother. Man. Awesome. Yeah. So man, it's amazing to see the journey that you're going through, and just the leaps and bounds that you're really taking in your business, and all this stuff that's coming in to change the way that you look at things, the way that you are approaching actual business now, and getting the results that you're getting. It's insane. I love it, man. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach out? I know you have a website as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So website is fairofferfast.com. You can email me, Lucas, Lucas, at fairofferfast.com.
Sounds good, man. Well, thank you so much, man, for sharing that. It's been refreshing, scaring, and all kinds of things in the same conversation. So,
100%, man.
I love it. I love it. Fam, thank you for listening. Every week, I bring you the real, the raw, the mindset, the case studies, and the strategies you need to build your own successful real estate wholesaling business. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on real life experience and information that can make you millions. It's time to join the ranks of successful wholesalers and real estate entrepreneurs like the one you just heard, and take advantage of one of the biggest opportunities that we have in our lifetime to generate wealth. So go to reiwholesaling.com, head over to my website, again, that's reiwholesaling.com, and learn how to make big profits, make big money by finding, negotiating, and closing wholesale deals from your own backyard. You've heard the stories, seen the case studies, stop thinking about it, it's time to write your own. Again, head over to reiwholesaling.com, click on coaching program, book a discovery call, have a conversation with my team, and you might get an invitation to join hundreds of students throughout the country who are leveling up on a daily basis. The writing is on the wall. Hustle is a season. It's not a business strategy. Take action, start building a sustainable and scalable real estate wholesaling business, and join the coaching program today. I will catch you guys on the next one. Talk to you soon. Stay focused. You got this.